Number 7. Anastasia Gotvitska. On March the 14th of 2022, officials at a refugee border crossing in Hungary detained the wife of a former Ukrainian politician on suspicion of smuggling millions of dollars in undeclared cash. Model Anastasia Gotvitska, whose husband Igor Gotvitsky formerly served as a member of the Ukrainian parliament, was found with several suitcases containing upwards of $28 million while attempting to leave the war-torn country and enter the neighboring Hungary. A Ukrainian media publication reported that Gotvitska had been traveling with 2 Hungarian citizens and her mother when the group was stopped at a customs checkpoint in Vlok. Upon the interception of the cash, which had reportedly been stuffed inside of 6 suitcases that were then packed into a minivan, the State Bureau of Investigation opened a criminal case against Gotvitska. The model was accused of knowingly trying to smuggle undeclared money out of the country. Igor Gotvitsky, who in the past had been one of the wealthiest politicians in Ukraine, publicly denied reports of his wife's detainment and maintained that all of his money was still held in Ukrainian banks. He further claimed that Gotvitska had been leaving the country in order to give birth to their child and not in the furtherance of some corrupt financial ploy on his part. The incident caused particular concern among Ukrainian officials as it occurred in the context of growing fears that the country's wealthiest citizens might attempt to smuggle their money abroad to evade capital flight curbs and taxes. Number 6. Shireen Kashif. A police constable at London's Central East Command Unit was arrested on April the 28th of 2020 after it was discovered that he'd taken part in an organized crime ring that stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from drug dealers in the area. The officer, named as Kashif Mahmood, was dismissed from the Metropolitan Police and later jailed for a period of 8 years in connection to the large-scale corruption plot. On the day of Mahmood's initial arrest, investigators raided his Essex residence in search of evidence of his various crimes. Further investigation would reveal that Mahmood's wife, fellow police constable Shireen Kashif, had concealed a shoebox filled with thousands of dollars of illegally obtained cash from the authorities during their descent on the home. The exact sum that Kashif had hidden on her husband's behalf wasn't revealed in subsequent reports, and the police never retrieved the stolen cash. Investigators only learned about the box after intercepting encrypted text messages shared by crime group members. In January of 2022, Kashif was given a suspended 2-year jail sentence and was also ordered to perform 150 hours of unpaid community service. As a consequence for her actions, Kashif was, like her husband, dismissed from the Metropolitan Police. Number 5. Sylvia G Ash. In 2018, the former chief executive of the Municipal Credit Union, headquartered in New York City, pleaded guilty to stealing nearly $10 million from the financial institution, which consisted of roughly 500,000 members. As was later discovered by federal investigators, the suspect, Cam Wong, had been aided in the large-scale theft by a powerful and influential ally. Justice Sylvia G Ash of the New York Supreme Court, who also reportedly served on the Municipal Credit Union Board of Directors, was alleged to have abused her judicial authority in order to cover up Wong's long-running financial crimes. According to a criminal complaint, the 62-year-old judge took repeated steps to obstruct the federal investigation linked to Wong's embezzlement scheme. As part of her attempts to derail the inquiry into her fellow credit union executive, Ash signed a false memo that justified millions of dollars in payments that Wong had siphoned from the institution. The complaint also accused the judge of deleting text messages and emails pertaining to the theft, as well as making false statements when questioned by investigators. The year after Wong had entered his guilty plea, Ash was formally charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice and 2 counts of obstruction of justice. In December of 2021, it was announced in a Justice Department press release that the sitting New York Supreme Court judge had been convicted of her various charges and was scheduled to be sentenced on April the 20th of 2022. Number 4. Operation Guard Shack. In the early morning hours of October the 6th of 2010, dozens of FBI tactical teams dispersed throughout the island of Puerto Rico as part of a massive anti-corruption operation. The federal law enforcement agents, many of whom were members of SWAT and hostage rescue teams, conducted a series of sneak attack arrests under the cover of darkness. As the massive operation unfolded, more than 89 members of the Puerto Rico Police Department and the Puerto Rico Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation were taken into custody, codenamed Operation Guard Shack. It was the largest corruption crackdown in the FBI's history up to that point, and marked the culmination of a 2-year investigation into allegations of drug trafficking by Puerto Rican law enforcement officials. During a press conference held in the aftermath of the pre-dawn raids, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder revealed that the operation had led to more than 130 arrests in total, which included 2 U.S. Army soldiers and 30 Puerto Rican civilians, who were also accused of corruption to varying degrees. Holder also detailed how the defendants charged in the sweeping federal indictments had allegedly provided security during more than 100 undercover drug transactions in exchange for cash payments. As the legal proceedings progressed, 131 defendants either pleaded guilty or were convicted of the charges levied against them. The final prosecution associated with Operation Guard Shack occurred in January of 2013 when 3 men, including 2 former police officers, were found guilty of aiding in the widespread corruption. Number 3. Iona Metzker. In 2013, Iona Metzker became the subject of a corruption investigation while serving as the Ashkenazi chief rabbi of Israel, a position of supreme religious authority traditionally held by an individual of European Jewish heritage. Lahav 433, an Israeli crime-fighting organization, dispatched their National Fraud Investigations Unit to conduct a raid of Metzker's residence and offices. The mobilization followed allegations that the rabbi had pocketed thousands of dollars in donations meant for various non-governmental groups. This marked the 2nd time Metzker had been subjected to an inquiry concerning financial fraud. Back in 2005, Israeli police formally investigated the rabbi as he'd been suspected of accepting unauthorized benefits from a Jerusalem hotel. Due to a lack of sufficient evidence, the Israeli Attorney General ultimately chose not to seek a criminal indictment against Metzker, and the investigation was consequently closed. In spite of his acquittal, many of Metzker's rabbinic associates sought to have him impeached as chief rabbi. Metzker ended up serving a self-imposed 3-year suspension before returning to office in early 2008. The renewed accusations of misconduct that emerged in 2013 reportedly stemmed from instances in which the rabbi had stolen non-profit donations for personal use. Metzker's indictment detailed how he'd also allegedly taken bribes meant to influence his opinions on the religious matters he was meant to oversee as chief rabbi. In 2017, he pleaded guilty to bribery, tax fraud, and interfering in the trial process, and was consequently sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. Today's topic was requested by Lady Kitsuda. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Vili Mahe Toccolo. Vili Mahe Toccolo was arrested in 2019 after it emerged that he'd operated as an informant for the criminal underworld over a 15-month period while working as a police officer in Auckland, New Zealand. The investigation into Toccolo's corruption uncovered that the 30-year-old had regularly accessed the police's National Intelligence Application System to obtain confidential information that he would then leak to members of organized crime groups. The police database, referred to as the NIA, holds a considerable amount of personal information belonging to more than 2 million people, which accounts for an estimated 40% of New Zealand's population. Among the sensitive material that the corrupt officer had reportedly leaked to his criminal associates was information regarding a law enforcement operation that had been targeting a multi-million-dollar Mexican drug deal. In exchange for serving as a mole for some of New Zealand's most infamous criminal offenders, Toccolo was reportedly rewarded with generous cash sums that totaled approximately $70,000. Investigators discovered more than 20,000 suspicious inquiries that Toccolo had made in the police's database, including information about 34 individual police officers. In December of 2019, Toccolo's trial was held at the Auckland District Court. He ultimately pleaded guilty to a charge of accessing the NIA for a dishonest purpose and was consequently sentenced to 2 years and 2 months imprisonment. A year into his sentence, it was reported that Toccolo had been granted parole. Number 1. The death of Sean Souter. On November the 15th of 2017, police detective Sean Souter was fatally shot at point-blank range while conducting a homicide investigation in West Baltimore, Maryland. The city's police commissioner, Kevin Davis, detailed during a subsequent press conference that the victim, an 18-year veteran of the force, had been fired upon with his own service weapon, which he'd lost during a struggle with his assailant. Moments before he was killed, the officer had sent a radio transmission indicating that he was in distress and required assistance. Footage captured by a private surveillance camera showed Souter's partner calling for help shortly after he'd been shot. In the wake of the incident, the Baltimore Police Department divulged that Souter's death had occurred just 1 day before he was scheduled to testify as part of an internal police corruption probe. The revelation triggered widespread speculation that the officer's murder had been orchestrated by one of the defendants in an attempt to keep him off the witness stand. Commissioner Davis attempted to alleviate concerns regarding a potential conspiracy, stating investigators' belief that on the night of the murder, Souter had approached a suspicious individual who'd randomly attacked him in the years since the shooting, which remained unsolved. As of the latest updates, many continue to theorize that Souter's death was part of a larger corruption scandal within the Baltimore Police Department, despite official statements to the contrary. In 2021, HBO released a documentary titled The Slow Hustle, which delved deeper into the mysterious incident and the persistent conspiracy theories associated with it. Thanks for watching. Would you rather be the leader of a corrupt political regime or have someone else get arrested for a crime you committed? Let us know in the comments section below.